Hello everyone! The subject of my talk is structural evolutionary learning for composite classification models. Quite often it is not enough to use one model for achieving effective performance, it is profitable to use models combination. Manually selection of the structure of a composite model is a time-consuming process, but AutoML solutions provide the opportunity to save a large amount of time, which specialists spend by performing many routine operations to select appropriate model. The existing AutoML solutions mostly deal with a fixed shaped structure of the composite model. The optimization of variable shaped structure at the appropriate time is still an open problem. I would like to present main aspects and results of evolutionary-based method for the identification of the composite models with the custom structure. The structure of the composite model can be represented as a directed acyclic graph, and the best suitable variant of that structure can be found using optimization approaches. The elements of this graph are machine learning models intended for classification or some other problems, for example, for the clusterization and regression and so on. A simple case of the composite structure is an ensemble of models which can be single or multi-level. On the picture we can see examples of composite models. The first composite model example on the first layer includes differential equation and numerical model that describes the same process and simultaneously arrive to machine learning model. And in the second example, outputs of numerical model and previously composed AutoML model arrive into operator which prepares the data for the feed to machine learning model. The structure of composite model can be represented as a chain C that consists of a set of various machine learning models which on the picture labeled from the M1 to M7 and directed links between them labeled on the picture from L1 to L7. The links represent the data flow from the output of some model to one of the other model inputs. The initial primary models in the chain are initialized by input data X directly, and secondary models, which located on the second and third layers on the picture, receive previous models' predictions as an input. Each secondary model can receive several data flows. Also, each model is initialized by a set of hyperparameters, which are labeled in the picture as P1, P2, and so on. The machine learning pipeline is typically based on the fixed high-level structure, while the links in the graph-based structure of the composite model can be designed arbitrarily. Composer is used for the chain composing and identification and receives of the input such important parameters as composition requirements and model set which can be included to chain. It is necessary to estimate each composed chain effectiveness. For this we can use the combination of such metrics as quality, for example classification accuracy or Roca-Hooke metric, structural complexity and robustness. The search of the suitable chain for the observations can be represented as following optimization problem. Here the objective function f should be minimized and contains as arguments chain, set of input features, and chain simulation result. In the second formula, G is an operator for multi-objective transformation, Q is a quality metric for the composite model, and S is a structural complexity metric. Also, the implied time constraint should be considered. The multi-objective transformation represents fitness function in Pareto form, or implement the complexity-based penalty term in a frame of a single objective optimization task. Since the identification of the model structure can be considered as a graph optimization problem, it requires specific techniques that are able to operate with solutions in the form of directed acyclic graphs or tree-based structures. We decided to develop the optimizer for the chain composition problems based on the modified genetic programming algorithm. For each specified problem, an algorithm finds a chain consists of several machine learning models contained in predefined model set. The algorithm generates the initial population of chains using method grow. Each chain is recursively generated from the root node. After that, the population is evolved using crossover and mutation operators during the few generations until the convergence-based termination criteria are not satisfied. In the proposed algorithm, we use two different variants of crossover. Sub-tree crossover is performed by the replacement of random sub-tree in first selected parent to random sub-tree from the second parent. One-point crossover finds common structural parts between two trees, and after that, randomly chooses the location of nodes, sub-trees of which will be swapped. We used three different options of mutation. The first, simple mutation, which changes nodes models with a specified probability. Sub-tree mutation, which selects a random node in a tree, generates new subtree, and replaces the selected node's subtree. This mutation is aimed to improve the exploration of search space by the generation of new subtrees. This type of mutation can lead to increased depth and width of the tree. Therefore, we added the reducing mutation, which selects a random node in a tree and removes its subtree. Besides this, there is a problem of chain structural overcomplication. The smaller chains can provide solutions with fitness values equivalent to larger chains. Instead of the direct involvement of the penalty term for complexity, we developed a regularization operator which suppresses unnecessarily growing of trees. This operator, finding competitive subgraphs among all possible unique subtrees of current population individuals and adding them to parent set. Unlike the majority of genetic programming tasks, the elements of the chain are models that can be fitted partially independently. So it is possible to save fitted nodes of the chain into the cache and use it to evaluate the fitness for the modified version of this chain. Also, it allows obtaining the fitness function value for some subgraphs inexpensively if it was previously trained as a part of another chain. On the picture presented the results of the experiments with a different implementation of cache. It can be seen that the local cache allows reducing the number of model fits up to 5 times against non-cached variant. The effectiveness of the shared cache implementation is twice as high as that for the local cache. Here you can see the comparison of evolutionary operators on credit scoring problem. In the first 3 experiments of mutation was used specified mutation operators, but in the last experiment the mutation was chosen randomly for each individual. For experiments with crossover, in the first 2 experiments specific options of crossover operator were used. In the third experiment the crossover was chosen randomly, and in the fourth experiment the crossover was excluded. According to the results of experiments, it can be concluded that the reduced mutation demonstrates the most effective and stable results. It can be related to the fact that composing of large trees is redundant for this problem. Regarding crossover comparison, the worst result was demonstrated in the experiment with excluded crossover. Other crossover options demonstrate similar result. Also, 2 evolutionary schemes, steady state and generational, were compared with and without regularization. In generational scheme, the generated offspring completely replaces the parent population. In second scheme, the new population is formed by selection from the union of offspring and the previous population. This type of evolutionary scheme allows saving the prospective genotype. According to results of comparison on evolutionary schemes in our experiments without regularization, steady-state scheme performed better, but experiment which is presented on the slide shows that the regularization provides a positive influence for composing algorithm, improves its convergence, and both schemes with regularization show approximately the same result. Also on this slide you can see the visualization of the model identification process during evolution. On the left picture you can see the current chain, in the middle the best chain, and on the right picture changes in the best chain fitness. In order to test the algorithm, we implemented a synthetic case. Firstly, we generated a chain with a balanced binary tree structure with a fixed value of a tree depth. Each model in the nodes was selected randomly from a predefined set of machine learning models. Then each model was fitted independently with synthetically generated datasets. Next, using the same approach, we generated a dataset with features X synthetic and passed it through the chain, obtaining Y synthetic predictions. The proposed scheme of synthetic dataset generation is presented on the left picture on the slide. Also, we checked the ability to find the source machine learning pipeline with genetic programming composer based on the generated data. The experiments were conducted on chains with depth equals to 4 and limited set of machine learning models that included logistic regression, XGBoost, KNN, and decision tree models. The results is shown on the right picture. He compared genetic programming composer with the random search algorithm. In this case, the fitness function corresponded to tree edit distance between the source chain and the current solution. The experimental results indicated that genetic programming composer outperformed random search algorithm and allowed to find the chain structure. The credit scoring problem was selected as real-world benchmark for the implemented composition algorithm. It is a well-known problem that can be reduced to binary classification. We choose ROCAU quality metric for the results evaluation. The scoring data set was obtained from Kaggle competition and consists of 11 numerical and categorical features. We compared the implemented method of pipelines composition with a random search and single model baseline XGBoost. Also, the additional comparison was performed against the models obtained with several AltML frameworks. The optimization time limit was restricted by 30 minutes of real time. The quality metrics for the obtained models are represented in table. The structure of the best model generated by the composer is presented on the picture. It can be seen that the implemented genetic programming-based composer outperformed the baseline and some state-of-the-art solutions. The experimental studies were restricted with classification models set only. However, the proposed concepts can be generalized to other machine learning tasks too. The future development of this research will extend the proposed solution to the regression problem and the broader set of models, including domain-specific models. Also, in future works, we are planning more extensive investigations of approaches to improve the efficiency of evolutionary search. Everything that was described on this work you can see and apply by downloading of our framework named Fedot. The main goal of framework to improving of quality in different process analysis. The framework has different features, for example, variable shapes pipelines, learning of interpretable models, embedding of domain-specific models, and application for different types of models. The Fedot is open source framework. We publish it on GitHub repository. Thank you for your attention.